We are on beautiful Highway 1, heading from Bivalve, which is the name of a real town, to Marshall, where there is a place called the Marshall Store. It's a really beautiful location on the water. There's a beautiful pier, and we're gonna try our favorite bivalve mollusk, and yours, the oyster. You've got the farm up a ways.
Yes, Tamales Bay Oyster Company is just south of us.
So, okay.
Just a couple miles.
But then the actual beds themselves are north of here?
So all of our oysters are coming from Tamales Bay. The ones that we get for the store are Pacific Preston Points. So those are farmed right at the mouth of Walker Creek. So about 15 minutes north of here. On a low tide day, you'll see the beds out exposed, and the boys are often out there flipping the beds, jostling them around.
Why don't we do one order of each?
Sounds great.
Well, it's the oysters that everybody comes to Marshall for.
No.
Because they do such a good job growing them. Not just oysters, but seafood.
Yeah.
It used to be the herring. The herring used to come in here, and it'd be, during herring season, be just so much activity here, you wouldn't believe it. The water changed about 2 degrees a year for 4 years. And the water's 8 degrees difference in the water, and the herring don't come in anymore. It's too hot. So that died. Now it's oysters. And they have such a wonderful place here. It started with just a few stools, and now, as you can see, they got a line going out the door.
Yeah, it's incredibly.
Yeah, and they do such a great job cooking them that's why everybody comes. I don't know. I just ate 20, and I ate 16 yesterday, and I don't know how many I'll eat tomorrow. And I eat them every way I can get them. Fried, raw, baked, anyway, scrambled with eggs, I don't care. Throw some garlic in there.
Welcome to dining on a rickety, dry rot pier. I'm your host. This will be the first and last episode as we plunge through into the water. They have been kind enough to let me dine on some of these fantastic bivalves. That word came out wrong. Some of these fantastic bivalves that you may know as oyster. It's a bivalve because there are valves that it filters water. It filters water and intakes oxygen. A single oyster, fun fact, can filter plankton and organic sediment out of the water 50 gallons a day. Now, that being said, they're also delicious, and so we eat them as well. What we have here from the Marshall Store is we have their selection of cooked oysters. Oysters can be eaten raw as a delicacy. They can also be boiled or baked or steamed or any possible number of things done to them. And we have shining examples of what that stands for and what that means. So I'm just gonna plunge right in and start eating these right now. Let's start with this Kilpatrick, which has some freshly chopped parsley, some bacon, some Worcestershire. Nice. Smokiness from the bacon, tang and acidity from the Worcestershire sauce. To be honest, I didn't taste the oyster because the Worcestershire is strong, as is bacon. Those are two pretty strong flavors. I mean, you're not gonna get as much of that classic briny ocean taste in your mouth. In the cooked oysters, how they are prepared and the things that they are prepared with, the flavors will be more pronounced. This is the barbecue. So as you can see, this just has just a little smidge of what looks like their house-made barbecue sauce, which has sort of been described to me as like a little bit of a cocktail sauce, tomato-based sauce, and some parsley butter. It's beautiful, beautiful, big, meaty oyster. Those are really nice. In this one, the flavor of the oyster comes through a lot more. It's like taking a mouthful of the Pacific or the Atlantic or whatever, wherever it is that you are, in like a nice way. It's like a little bit fruity, it's a little bit metallic, it's very salty, it's pleasant. I have to say, I didn't really like oysters. My first oyster eating experience was in the San Francisco Bay Area. As a very young boy, and I think suffering, because I thought they were the grossest thing in the world. And it's an acquired taste. It's a thing where it's like, oh, why would you eat these? I mean, because they're delicious, but as a food, the oyster has definitely evolved over time. Like the lobster, the oyster was once considered a working class food in the 19th century, and has since evolved into a much more stereotypically upper class kind of food. I believe Jonathan Swift said it was a brave person who first ate an oyster. And I think that's very, very true. I'm gonna eat some chorizo now. That's nice too. You get this kind of slightly spiced sausage that goes well with that kind of soft brininess of the oyster. The oyster is its own little thing. It has like a little oyster body with oyster heart and oyster kidneys, and like they're just a whole little organism. And they're so delicious. This is the Oysters Rockefeller. This has breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs on anything, by the way, I love. And spinach and some house-made cheese. This is a big bite. Oh yeah, that's the classic. I love the big mouthful of spinach. I think greens make meat taste really good. Greens and meat eaten together. It's why you like, you know, like a big prosciutto pizza with like a big thing of arugula on it, because it's so nice to get that contrast. It's like a little bit bitter with the greens. Again, with the sort of the subtle oyster taste, you're not gonna get that strong brininess of a raw one. And then the crunchiness of the breadcrumbs gets a nice little texture, and then sort of like a creamy tang of the cheese is also very nice. What better way to enjoy it on a beautiful day, a little more than an hour north of San Francisco. Yeah, you couldn't ask for a place that's just more idyllic and more bucolic and calm and just gorgeous as where we are right now. I really hope you enjoyed this episode of Dining on a Dime from the Marshall store in Marshall, California, just about an hour or so north of San Francisco. If you'd like to watch more, please click here.